And so the question that I've been asked now and again is this one, which is, if you're a healer, then would you ever need to go to a healer yourself, or because you're a healer you're just going to be able to heal yourself at all times? Now there's an obvious answer to this. There's what I would call the should answer, and the should answer is, well, if you're a healer you should be able to heal yourself, because that's what you do, you heal. Now ironically the answer is the opposite, which is that a healer very much needs to be open to receiving healing from other people. And ideally speaking, the best thing a healer can do is to be really good friends with at least one other healer. This way they can watch each other's backs. And the reason for this is because of one of the essential natures of being a human being. One of the things that makes us human is having blind spots, or areas that we can't see. And so the beauty about working together with one or other person in this way is that when your blind spot is particularly glaring and you can't see something, you've got a really good mate or friend who is also a healer who can say, excuse me, you're looking a little bit depleted of energy, perhaps you could do with a little bit of help there. And such comments are worth their weight in gold, because at that particular moment, that was a time when my blind spot was such that I wasn't able to see that I needed some help. And I certainly did need some help, and my goodness me, when I'd actually received that healing that person done for me, the thought was in my head and it was in his head, which is, good grief, how long have you staggered on without noticing that that needed to be done? So that's my answer. If you're involved in the healing arts, it's a really good idea, I'd even say essential step, to be mates with at least one other healer who you trust and respect, so that you can actually help each other out. And the other thing about being a healer is you are obviously, it's rather like being a doctor working with infectious diseases. You're exposed to all sorts of very unpleasant diseases if that's your job. As a medical scientific officer in pathology, my job used to be to work with plates containing hundreds or thousands of millions of highly infected bacteria. And I used to lift open the plate and sniff it, and it was the smell that was one of the ways that I could detect exactly what bacteria it was and what it would be helpful to use to treat the bacteria with. So if you're a doctor working in an infectious diseases hospital, you've got to be far more rigorous than anybody else to make sure that you don't catch the diseases the patients have got. And guess what? The same story is applicable for healers who are working in energy or shamanic realms, because of course what are we doing but endlessly coming into contact with all sorts of problems, toxicity, negative energies, curses and the like. And so we need to be very careful, and sometimes, despite our best attempts, we are going to pick something up. So I have been aware over the last month or so that something with me wasn't right, and I didn't know what it was. My shaman brother Robert did some healing with me yesterday, and my guides and his guides were involved, and also my helpers, and he was doing the healing for me. He discovered that not only had some negative energies actually managed to inveigle their way into me, but there were also a number of what he called masters of negative energies. So these seemed to be beings that were in charge of these negative energies, and it was quite an interesting story. And there's a particular person that was actually unaware that this person was channeling these energies through to me, and it suddenly explained the way I just felt specifically over the last few weeks, that I just didn't seem to have the energy that I normally have, that I seemed to feel depleted all the time, and was wondering what was going on and puzzled about it. And when he got to do the work, there was absolutely no question about it. So first of all, what we needed to do is to do something about the way that my energy was being drained. And when he scanned my energy body, he very clearly saw that a pipe had been attached to my kidneys, and the energy was literally leaking out of my body there. And then I thought about injuring my back doing this vigorous exercise, and I remembered that the exact place my back hurt was exactly between the kidneys, so it made complete and utter sense. The moment he removed that device from between my kidneys, I just instantly started to feel better, and my energy levels have just been steadily increasing ever since then. However, that was only part way through the process, because then what we needed to do, we chose to work on this one together, is we used the wonderful ancient Hawaiian shamanic approach of I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And we both spent a good while just chanting that one over together. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. We called in the plant spirits to help, and then we first of all got the negative energies, the entities that were being controlled by these masters, and we got them up, away, out into the vortex and gone. And then finally we were able to work on getting these masters out. It took some time, we got them all out in the end. And one of my helpers just turned around to him really early on in the session and said, oh, by the way, he doesn't need any soul retrieval doing, he's had all his soul parts back. And that was so gratifying for me to have that extra confirmation through my brother shaman Robert that yes, not only do you have that feeling, but it's coming through to me through your helpers as well. So that's a really nice feeling. So that can be the sort of thing that can occur. And it's the price that a person pays for doing this kind of work. It's inevitable. If you're going to stick your head above the parapet, you're going to attract attention. And with everything that we do our best to minimise that, but every now and again there's going to be something that will happen, and so this is the prices I pay for the work that I do, and it's the same with anyone that does this kind of work. So we need to be extra vigilant, and this is why I go back to the comment I made at the beginning, which is if you're going to do this kind of work, I suggest to you it's absolutely essential you find someone who's going to be a mate, a friend, who's trained in something at least similar, so that you're able to help each other when you need it. And sometimes you might not even be the one that recognises that you need it. It could be, well, your friend that says, I've noticed the way you've been looking the last couple of weeks, I think maybe it's time to have a look. So, very important to know about. So another question comes up, which is that some people, when they go to a healer and receive healing, then they go back again and again and again, and they're wanting more, wanting more, wanting more. And in some cases this is actually encouraged by certain kind of healers, because that's actually how they make their living, is by regular repeat custom. And it's something that I do find somewhat disturbing, to say the least, but it does happen. And I remember one of my clients that I had the greatest satisfaction of, she'd been seeing a psychotherapist every week for 6 months and paying something like £80 at that particular time per session. She came to me, paid £50 at one session, never saw her again. And at that point it could have been the end of the story, but some months later I had a contact with her very good friend and said, how's she getting on? And she said, oh, it's amazing, ever since she went to you at that one session, she doesn't talk about anything being wrong with her anymore, she's absolutely fine. So for some people that is really great. So what I would say about the work that we do with Universal Soul Retrieval is that the vast majority of the time we find that 1 or 2 sessions, that's absolutely plenty. There are exceptional circumstances where a person does need more assistance than that, and in our ways of working we're talking about 4 sessions, 5 sessions, that's way beyond the norm, and that for us is like a huge amount. For many different therapeutic methods that wouldn't be very much at all. So we're very pleased about the quick results we get. However, there are going to be some people who are going to be literally experiencing some kind of a dependency, and that's a difficult one to deal with. And what I find happens, and with the Universal Soul Retrieval, it doesn't happen according to my specifications or my ideas, it happens totally automatically, which is in the writing of the report, and specifically writing in the message, because the message is never written by me, it's always written by my guides and helpers, and what they say is, first session we're doing the work, the second session we're pretty much doing the work, but we're coming up with some suggestions of what to do. If the person's ever going to see us more than 2 occasions, then what happens is the amount of work we provide for them to do on their own just gets more and more, and the amount of work we're willing and able to do gets less and less. So it's a way to counteract this dependency, and to say, when you go to someone for healing, it's because you actually can't cope anymore on your own, with your own resources, with your own awareness, your own consciousness. You need help, and that's absolutely fine and totally great. So you go to the healer, then you get the intervention. From that time onwards, as the person who needs healing, it's your turn to start to take the responsibility. And so even for the health check, it's a good idea to be aware that you need to be doing a little bit more for yourself. And so this is what we do, is we make it really clear to the client in a very gentle way that actually there's more work for them to do here. And that's the way that we deal with the issue of preventing any sort of dependency from occurring, is putting the ball back in the person's court. We can really give them a big assisting in terms of changing the direction, but once we've assisted them with that, it's then up to them to follow through. So when this person has had their Universal Soul Retrieval and they've had the negative energy is removed, the curse is removed, the seals and protections put in place, and their soul parts returned, by and large it's pretty much exceptional that they're going to need any more help again. We like to do the health check to make sure there's nothing that we missed, be absolutely certain about that. Sometimes things come up. We have this idea of layers of the onion, which is that sometimes when a load of toxicity or negativity has been removed, that then allows another layer to rise to the surface, which is why the health check is important. So in rare cases we will need to do maybe 4 or 5 sessions if the person has got so much that is being uncovered and uncovered and uncovered in a repetitive way. But generally speaking, once you've had the work, that's it. However, there's a really big obvious thing I need to say, which is I can remember doing a universal soul retrieval for someone a couple of months ago. Within a short period of time, through no fault of the person's own, they found themselves a passenger in a car that was involved in an accident. So there we are, major trauma. So of course it was completely right for that person to reapproach and say, could you just check us out please, because I've been in a car accident, so it could be I might have lost a packet of my energy through trauma, and lo and behold, of course that's exactly what had happened. So able to go straight in there, bring that bit of energy back to him, and all's well that ends well.